Hey everyone, it's Chris Loud. Today I'm working on this bright, pretty loose, intuitive acrylic painting, and we're going to talk about negative space and how leaving part of a painting relatively quiet can sometimes make everything else feel a whole lot stronger. This one actually started with an idea I've explored before called the hidden corner. The original prompt had us concentrating most of the detail and texture or visual weight into one corner while keeping the rest of the painting fairly minimal. I did a whole video on that prompt a while back, which I'll leave a link in the description below if you haven't seen that. But this time I wanted to loosen things up. Quite a bit, actually. I got rid of the time limit and opened up the color palette to some much brighter colors and really just used the hidden corner prompt as a jumping off point. The prompt is in my 115 abstract painting exercises and prompts ebook that I just released. It includes things like mini warm-ups, color lab, and tool experiments, along with 75 abstract painting prompts. If you're interested, I'll leave a link below. But today we're basically going to take one of those prompts and kind of break some of its rules, which I fully endorse. And before we get started, a quick thank you to Steve, Kathleen, and Peter for the recent super thanks and coffee support. I always appreciate the support, and it really does help keep these videos and all these painting experiments going. So here I'm playing with a fountain pen and some carbon ink just to make these really loose marks across the surface. And then I added some water and let that ink start to move and bleed a little bit. And I really like what happened here. Obviously, I'm using a hairdryer to not only dry some of that ink, but I was also pushing that water around a little bit. And the water kind of takes away some of that control. Instead of every line being exactly where I put it, the ink starts kind of feathering out and breaking apart and creating these really unpredictable lines and shapes. There's almost an organic quality to some of it that I wouldn't have thought to draw deliberately. And just a little spoiler here, most of this isn't going to survive the finished painting. At the time, I didn't know that, of course. I actually thought some of these marks might become a pretty important part of the piece. But, that's okay. Even while I'm doing this, I'm seeing possibilities that I want to come back to in another painting. So whether these marks survive this particular piece or not, they've already given me something. And here I'm starting to put down some of those bright colors. I'm using some lime green, neon pink, magenta, and I'll start mixing those with a little bit of white and some of the other colors that I bring in. And unlike the original hidden corner exercise, I'm not trying to finish this in 15 minutes. And I'm definitely not sticking to 3 colors. I'm using a much brighter, more vibrant palette this time, and I'll put all the acrylic paint colors and materials I'm using in the description below if you want to see that. But what I am keeping from the original prompt is the basic compositional idea. One area gets most of the activity, and another area gets to stay much quieter. And that's really all I needed from the prompt. I think sometimes we can get a little too concerned about following an exercise exactly as it's written. But once we've tried it and understand what it's teaching us, there's no reason we can't take that idea somewhere else. And the restrictions can be really helpful at first. A limited palette kind of forces us to think about color relationships, and a time limit keeps us moving and hopefully stops some of the overthinking. But once we've learned from those restrictions, we can remove those and ask, okay, what else can I do with this idea? So the prompt is really just kind of the doorway. Once we're through it, we have a little more time and freedom to wander around a little bit. So I'm using a large flat brush and mixing some titanium white and Naples yellow to start working on that negative space. Not knowing what the final color was that I wanted to play with, but just to start forming a little bit more of the composition. And I'm starting to concentrate more of the activity toward the upper right area now. And there's quite a bit that's going to happen in there. Different colors and shapes and some lines, a little bit of texture. And I'll work with some harder edges and softer edges. And at this stage, I'm mostly reacting to what's already on the surface. I'll add something, decide if I like part of it, cover another part up, maybe add something back. And eventually, I've created a completely different problem for myself to solve. And that's pretty much intuitive painting. But I'm intentionally allowing this part of the painting to become busy. I'm not worried about whether every individual mark is particularly important. I'm more interested in what happens when all of those marks start interacting. And the more activity I put here, the more important it becomes that I don't put the same amount of activity everywhere else. So that's really where the negative space starts becoming a big part of the painting. And when we talk about negative space, it's easy to think of it as the empty part of a painting. The area where we haven't done anything, or the area where we just have one solid light color. But I don't really think of it that way. Negative space is still part of the composition. And, it doesn't have to be white. It doesn't have to be neutral. It doesn't even have to be completely empty. It can have color, subtle marks, texture. There just tends to be less visual activity happening there than in the areas around it. And, that doesn't mean every abstract painting needs a big area of negative space. Not at all. Sometimes we want energy and activity from one edge of the painting to the other. But when we do leave some space quieter, it can give our eye a chance to rest and make everything happening around it feel stronger. It can help create a focal point and establish some contrast and give the composition a little more breathing room. And sometimes what we leave out can be more important than what we leave in. And that's really what I'm starting to think about with this painting. How much activity do I actually want across the whole surface? And how much can I leave relatively quiet? And the difference, also affects visual weight. Visual weight is basically how strongly an area attracts our attention. Something doesn't literally have to be larger or feel heavier in a composition. Strong contrast can give something visual weight. So can saturated color or texture or a lot of detail or a hard edge or a group of shapes packed closely together. Here I've concentrated several of those things into one relatively small part of the painting, and I'll continue to work that area and add a little bit more. Then I've put this huge quieter area beside it. So when we get this slightly strange balance where the two sides are nowhere near equal in terms of how much is happening, but they can still balance each other visually. And that's one of the things I like about asymmetrical compositions. We don't necessarily need the same amount of information on both sides of the painting for it to feel balanced. Sometimes that imbalance is what makes the composition interesting. And one of the helpful things about negative space is that it can make a relatively small area feel much more important. If every part of the painting is asking for our attention, our eye has to figure out where to go. And here, there's really not much of a question. That big open area kind of pushes our attention toward the more complex area, because that's where that's where we're finding all those changes in color and value and shape. We've got some lines and texture. So the negative space isn't competing with the focal area. It's helping create it. Now you can see that quieter area starting to take shape. I'm covering quite a bit of the surface with this light blue permanent, which it almost looks a little more turquoise. And even though it's a pretty strong color, I'm keeping the area itself relatively simple. That's going to become the main negative space in the painting. And I think that's an important distinction because sometimes when a painting feels like it needs something or it's missing something, our instinct is to add something, another mark or another shape or more color. I'm definitely guilty of that. I do that quite often. Sometimes I'll look at a nice open area and immediately start thinking about what I can put there. But occasionally the thing a painting needs most is for us to leave part of it alone or calm an energetic area down, which, for an intuitive painter holding a loaded brush, that can require a surprising amount of self-control. And maybe the question isn't always, what does this area need? Maybe sometimes it's what is this area already doing? And if it's providing breathing room or balance or contrast, adding something may actually take that away. And this painting, could have gone in several completely different directions. If you remember at the beginning, I had those watery carbon ink marks. That's a perfect example. Most of those have pretty much disappeared at this point, but the idea hasn't disappeared. I really loved what the water did to that ink, and that's something I definitely want to explore further in another painting. Maybe even make it one of the main ideas instead of burying it almost all of it under acrylic paint. And there were other little things happening here too, certain shapes and color combinations. I really liked the lighter mix of Naples yellow and titanium white for the negative space. And, there were also some small sections of the painting that I could have followed much further. And a few times I was very tempted to change direction completely. But one painting doesn't have to contain every good idea we have, while we're making it. That's something I'm trying to get better at remembering. Rather than squeezing every interesting idea into this piece, I can let some of them go and come back to them later. Sometimes an idea doesn't belong in this painting, but it might be exactly where the next painting starts. So even the directions we don't take aren't necessarily wasted. They're fuel for whatever we paint next. So now I don't leave the blue area completely untouched. I allow some of the longer lines and a few marks to move out of it. And I like that, what that does because it connects the two areas without completely filling the space between them. So the eye can follow those lines out from the busy area and into the blue, and there's still plenty of open space around. It's almost like I'm breaking my own rule without completely breaking it. And really, there isn't a rule anyway. We're just trying to preserve that relationship between the dense and more active area and the quieter area. And those marks also help keep the negative space from feeling too disconnected from the rest of the painting. So there's a difference between an area feeling intentionally quiet and feeling like we simply forgot about it. So I want the blue to belong to the painting. I just don't want it shouting quite as loudly as everything happening next to it. And as I get toward the end, I'm mostly looking at relationships now. And maybe the hardest question that we all face when we're painting is, can I stop messing with it? Or even better, what happens if I don't add anything? Sometimes that's the better decision. And sometimes you only find out by stopping long enough to really look at it. So coming up, we'll take a closer look at some of the marks, layers, and colors and textures in the finished painting. And then, as usual, I'm going to rotate it around because I can never resist doing that with an abstract. What's interesting with this one is how much the composition changes when that large area of negative space moves to a different side. Some orientations definitely feel stronger to me than others, but I'm curious what you think. Which orientation works best for you? And let me know in the comments. I always enjoy seeing whether everybody gravitates toward the same one or whether we're completely divided. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more intuitive abstract painting demos, feel free to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and keep on painting.